Alright, welcome to the first of the best of three for the Darwin Gamers Esport Trophy. We're here to crown the Northern Territory champions for DOTA. Playing on the Dire after losing the toss, we have Team MDA, and on the Radiant for not losing the toss, we have BP anyway. Playing on the Radiant. First pick's going to go to the Dire, and the Dire seeded through from the winners bracket. I believe it was in the second round. We actually saw BP eliminated by MDA. BP chose to run a very, very gritty draft, and well, you could argue they were punished for it. You could also argue that they kind of pissed the game away. But that's why we talk about these things. So BP looking for revenge, looking to get up in this series straight off the bat, and MDA looking to defend their place as we just wait for a wooden computer to load. So, both teams tend to favour the same sorts of heroes as their playmaking heroes. Look to see Meepa, Tinker and Invoker in high competition between the two. Interestingly, we saw Meepo and Tinker picked up in the earlier game of the brackets by BP, and they went on to lose the game. Invoker was, however, picked up by MDA. Here we are, we're all ready. Alright, here we go. I'm excited. I'm so excited.
I'm fucking pumped.
If he drops, I'm gonna call Val. I'm gonna get him put into low priority queue forever. Righto, so in we go. So coming out of that game, if I was Dire, who would I be looking to ban? Well, to be perfectly honest, I don't think we saw much at all out of MDA correction, out of Los Parnes that would require banning. I don't think there's anything there that I'd be too concerned and really looking to address. One thing I have noticed though is that MDA will play a lot around the Faceless Void, and that could be a ban that could be worth throwing out. But we'll see. I also have to be a little bit careful about what I say because this is actually being done live and there's no fancy soundproofing here in the Northern Territory. There we go. They banned the hero that I said should be banned against them. They're just messing with me here. So Jason, the captain of, or Ducom as he appears in game, the captain of MDA, I think he plays mid. Yeah, he plays mid. He's a real playmaker for the team. He's the one who needs to make things happen to create a space for Noob as he goes by the one position carry. On the other hand, I know that Raymond likes to think of himself as a bit of a playmaker, playing out of the off lane. He's the captain of Los Parnes. Both teams tend to play lanes more than they play heroes, so expect to see the same player doing the same lanes over and over again. What will be interesting to see is whether both teams choose to run tri-lanes. In the previous game that we saw an aggro tri-lane coming out of MDA, which really seemed to put Los Parnes off balance. My feeling, however, was that they lost the lane, MDA, I mean, so we'll see if they choose to repeat that. They lost the lane, but it really put BP off balance going into the mid game. Messed with their plans. So it's interesting to see the death prop still winning bans. I wouldn't be throwing bans at it myself these days, but I'm not the final of this tournament. The more interesting thing is that we're now seeing Timbersaw as the first ban again. And Ogre Magi becoming first pick material. He's just a natural go-to first pick hero. Ogre Magi was a hero that was ignored for a very, very long time, and he just kind of crept up on people. And I think that the buffs that we saw in 6.82 may be the straw that breaks the camel's back in terms of people finally recognising that Ogre Magi is a very, very strong hero, but he in my opinion, has been one for quite a while. The instant stun that he's got just isn't replicated on any other hero, that kind of range. He can cast that like 3 or 4 times at level 1. Ridiculously spammable, very, very hardy hero as well. Incredible strength growth and huge base armor. So he's sort of like a ranged version of Naga Siren that can't carry in that respect as a melee support. Melee support, it's something that people don't like to do in Dota, but now and again it's got its place. A lot of thought going into this pick from Boss Pies. If I was them, I have no idea what I'd do right now. I'm just being perfectly honest. So they don't seem to either because they've gone from Mirana pick. Mirana is the vanilla hero. She is like the original flavour of chips of heroes. It's the hero that says nothing about what you want to do. Synergizes as well with a couple of different heroes. Can create really, really strong lanes. Can be laned anywhere on the map. All 3 lanes can be played at any position from pretty much 5 through to 1. There are some weaknesses in the 1 and 2 Mirana that, they're not critical. It can work depending on your strat. We do see the Brewmaster coming out though. So this Brewmaster says to me that Boss Pies doesn't want to repeat what happened in the game that they played earlier today, and they're really going to be looking to have some kind of tempo controllers. The response straight away coming out, very little deep thought with deliberation goes into it, out of MDA is to snap up the Doom. Doom, recipient of a few nerfs in the last patch, but he's still strong. The Doom is still good. Not as good against heroes like Faceless Void or PA with the fact that it doesn't cancel passives anymore, including Drunken Brawler, it must be mentioned. But it's still going to stop him from getting the split off in fights, depending on how the initiation goes, which is a bit of a true. Centaur Waron gets banned out. So all of the heroes that we've seen banned from NDA so far are heroes that are good for sort of clash pushing. Heroes who benefit a lot from, or who are very, very good at early clashes, whereas the bans are a little bit more scattershot coming out from Boss Pies here. We saw the Witch Doctor ban, and we saw the Timbersaw ban. Those 2 heroes have very little in common. They don't synergize or counter the same heroes. They don't really excel in the same areas of the game even. And then we saw a Skyrath made ban. I find these bans quite interesting. I'm sure they have reasons for it. And we see the Bristleback get banned by MDA and the Storm Spirit by Boss Pies. The Storm Spirit ban perhaps anticipating that the Doom pick was to cover the weakness of the Storm so they could have both the Doom and the Storm and not risk it being counter picked. Tinker being the pick from Boss Pies though, it may also just be that they didn't want to play the Tinker against the Storm Spirit mid, who's to say. So this looks like a much more rounded team from BP than what we saw earlier in the day. This is a team that can go late, and there's a lot of options on the table right now. They had a very, very one-dimensional lineup earlier today that we would split push or die, take it late or die. AA comes out from MDA, and this is an interesting draft. This is an interesting draft because neither team really excels at anything right now. These are 2 fairly generalist lineups. We don't even really know what the lanes are yet. There's a lot of flexibility here. So the next few picks look to see these drafts get firmed up. Interestingly, we have not seen once today any of the quintessential like Mirana combos. We've seen Mirana. What we haven't been seeing is the Bane Mirana, the SK Mirana, that sort of thing. We do have an Earthshaker though, and Earthshaker Mirana is a lane that goes back a long way, pretty much when Mirana was first in the game. It's a lane that there's a lot of threat range on that. You're not really safe in many places when you're playing against an Earthshaker Mirana. Earthshaker 2 has been getting the craziest buffs lately. Like I don't want to go all Seinfeld on this, but like they just keep making weird things on him stronger. So at this point, he has just about the best crit in the game. Like his crit is better than PA's. Like I'm not even joking. On demand, just throw out a good draw. It's not even an ultimate. You max it first if you want. It's legit. I was just watching last night actually. I can't remember who was playing for the life of me. I think BP was one of the teams. But I no shit saw a 1-position gyro get soloed by a 5-position Earthshaker about 75 minutes into the game with mega creeps down and everything else, simply because of the insanity that is Enchant Totem right now. Like Enchant Totem with a refresher and your other abilities and stuff, like it's like a free like 10 times crit. It's out of control. Like, let's be under no illusions here. Carry Shaker is real, even from 5 position. Slark. Okay, so remember right at the start I said, look for some aggression from MDA, look for a more stable defensive line from Boss Barnes. That seems to be what we're shaping up to see here. Slark is not a hero that you want to rest on your laurels with. He's a hero who does scale reasonably well into the late game. You don't pick a Slark unless you want to take the fight to the other team. And I'm seeing the tools coming together out of MDA here to definitely take the fight to Boss Barnes, perhaps a little bit earlier than Boss Barnes would really like to. I have some concerns for the Tinker, split pushing against the Doom, that's pretty risky. Definitely split pushing against the Slark is risky. I like where MDA is going with this draft, and I think a lot is riding on this last pick from BP to shape their lineup in a way that's either going to make MDA miss their timing window, or create enough pressure on other areas of the map that it won't matter if their cores are getting shut down by these, or they can't get their Tinker split push to get farm going, simply because there's because of the massive pressure that Doom and Slark can bring up. If we can see something else maybe that can create a bit of space for them, create a threat of a carry. I mean, it's tough to say, like, what do you pick to carry against Doom? Doom's the counter of everything, but there's options here. There's options here, and it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see what they do. Final band coming out is an Ember Spirit. That kind of suggests to me that maybe we want to see a split push lineup from BP coming out again. It wouldn't surprise me to see the Nature's Prophet again. I think it would be an error in this case. I think there's enough answers to the Tinker and Nature's Prophet global split push train that just never ends here. I think there's enough answers there, so I don't think we'll see that out from Boss Punters, but I wouldn't put off the table. What other things do you ban an Ember for? Perhaps we're going to see a Naga, and a Naga is something that I would endorse because that's a hero that can get a lot of very, very unsafe farm relatively safely, which is quite a rare commodity. Interesting to note, we also haven't seen a Terrorblade ban. That's sort of along the same lines. And a Silencer ban coming out. Silence was actually played by Boss Punters against me today, and it was pretty horrible. They had 46 stolen intelligence, 13 minutes into the game. It wasn't pretty, but I did have a Dagon. It was a pretty good Dagon. Which, it must also be mentioned, their faceless boy kept voting. I'm not going to let up on that, because I'm still pretty hurt about it. And Invoker is the last pick. Okay, so I said look out for the Tinker, the Invoker, and the Meepo, and we see the Tinker and the Invoker coming out from Boss Partners. This means we're probably going to see a safe lane Tinker. They could play the off-lane Invoker, actually. That is a thing. I don't think we're going to see that. The question is then, what are we going to see in the off-lanes? And we can't have a support Brewmaster. So Brewmaster, do we see an off-lane Brewmaster? It was a thing, but it's not a thing anymore. I don't want to see the off-lane Brewmaster here because I have grave concerns for his safety against the lineup that we're seeing here. We could see a Brewmaster. So I think no matter what, we're going to see sort of a semi-roam from the Rhino and the Earthshaker. We see the Meepo last, and this is going to bring a degree of, this has an interesting new dynamic to the match. So what this means is that we can't simply see the game get dragged out by BP forcing the win with the Tinker tasering people down into the late game. So Meepo is definitely a hero who requires addressing, and he's a real threat. And I just love this cosmetic. A lot of people are a big fan of this Pandaren. Why can't I zoom in? This is killing me here. You know what, DOTA TV, I hate you. So this, I'll press this button, and I'll press this button. Bam! Look at that cosmetic. That is my favourite one. I have that exact same cosmetic. It's only uncommon, just saying, but it's a damn good looking cosmetic. You see a lot of pros use it too, because it's just that sexy. Most of this cosmetics are just these sticks that he hits people with, and this is this big ass wooden sword. So I'm very, very dutifully not saying anything about where anyone's going. That's why I'm talking about a freaking cosmetic. And we've seen the first puppy balls coming out for this evening. Right. So these lanes are shaping up to be interesting. They're not really what I was expecting. Some elements of them are the same, but some of them are a little bit different. And that's an interesting choice, and we'll see how this one gets played out, because there's ways of doing it and there's ways of doing it, and not all of them work, is probably the kindest way of putting it. Certainly a matchup that can go all right up there, as we see ships in the night. Yeah, this is a damn interesting little stand-up we got going here. So this is another one that I'm interested to see. I always like seeing this little fella at the mid lane. He's a swell old chap. He brings interesting things to games. Sometimes he brings things to games that I don't really want. Now, here's the first thing to note. We do have the blue wards on the Earthshaker, and that's not hidden. He didn't envision when I said that. But what's he going to use them for? Will he use them where he wants to use them? Is the question. Right, so we see another pause. We will eventually, I'm sure, find out what the big drama is. Alright, so again, we see MDO run the aggro tri-lane, and this is something that they favour. I think it contributed in the last game to the way that the game went. The tri-lane didn't go that well for them. You know, they took a couple of deaths out of it. They traded farm fairly evenly, which is, if you're trading farm evenly on an aggro tri-lane, that's generally a pretty good thing. But on the other hand, if you're running an aggro tri-lane, you're normally doing it because you want to stop something on the other team. And in their case, they didn't really do that. They certainly, and there's no question in my mind on this, they put BP off balance going into the mid game. Perhaps Nepo wasn't as farm as he would have been otherwise, but that's a separate issue. So this is a very interesting lane. As we see the chilling touch level 1, the defensive Fisher comes out and the arrow clutch in a creep wave, but we're not going to see enough damage to get the kill. Salving in the middle of combat are both of the two cores in this lane, while the supports just plink away at each other. And two heroes were very, very lucky there, one from either team. As we're seeing a bit of back and forth in the mid lane as well, not much in the way of, oh no, that's because that's the clone, and the real one's going back to base. I was going to make a comment about how we're already out of consumables, but that's not quite the case. Now this Earthshaker is an unhappy laddie. He's not on a lot of health right now. Now, granted, you don't need a lot of health to function as an Earthshaker in a tri-lane. What you do need, though, is the ability to throw down that Fisher at an opportune time. And that's really what you've got an Earthshaker in a tri-lane like this for. He's just there as the get out of jail free card. If everything else goes wrong, he drops the Fisher and we see people walk away. So, I don't know if you guys have put a lot of thought into the new bounty rune. It's something that Heroes of New Earth had for a long time. And the main thing that it does is it creates a greater incentive for support heroes to move around the map and not just sit in tri-lanes. It creates more resource competition around mid. And what that does is it means that it reduces the snowball potential of one team or one hero by being able to just, guess a rune or two right and accrue a huge advantage of it. So I'm broadly a fan. I think it's a clumsy implementation at the moment, but we'll get there with it. We'll get there with it. So, as you see the Meepo taking heavy harass from this Tinker. And the pings being spammed out. And it looks like we're going to see Quas Exhort Invoker. And this is the same Invoker that we saw earlier in the day from them, but it was being played out of the mid. No, I'm wrong. It was actually MDA's Invoker. I apologise, that's incorrect. So not something that I normally like to see, the Forge Spirit Invoker. Firstly, in general, I just don't like the Forge Spirit Invoker, but I especially don't like to see it on the offlane. The reason I don't like it so much is because normally this is a farming build, and normally you can't guarantee that you're going to get that farm in the offlane. Now, it looks like he's going to get away with it here, and he's going to get some decent early farm. Might get that early Midas out, that sort of thing. But it's principally a split pushing build, and it's principally a build that you use when you want to draw the game out and get max farm as safely as possible, safely split push towers with minimal commitment, that sort of thing. And that's something that you can't guarantee is going to happen in the off-lane Invoker. The interesting question that will come out of that is who is going to buy a mech on this team for BP? Or does BP feel that they can get away without a mech altogether? I don't think they can get away without a mech altogether. And Mirana, and this is the one weakness of the support Mirana that I was talking about before, is that she's a horrible mech carrier. And there's a whole bunch of reasons for that, as we see some wasted mana from the Ogre Magi. Mirana will just walk away from that, no follow at all. But this is a lane that, watch this space, and there's definite potential for both teams to get kills here. Clearly, after that, the Dire feel that, the Radiant feel that, you know, they don't want to push up that far. They're respecting the try lane, and they're gonna hang back a bit. Now, the eternal shuffling of the Meepos can't keep a good boy down. He's always sitting on back to base, healing it up. He'll eat all the grass in the world, and he's happy with that. The Tinker, who popped the regen runes before, is looking very, very healthy. And there are certainly some peculiarities about running the Tinker against the Meepo in the mid lane, and the other things that sometimes come out of that. The changes to March of the Machines to Ancients, I really like. I hated the old we kept Tinker down, but now he's just going to go on Arrow lands on the Ancient Apparition, Fish to follow up. They didn't layer those stuns very well, and that may indeed cost them. I'm not sure why they were in such a rush to throw that Fisher out. I think that would have been a kill if they just had been a little bit more patient on it, but you know, it's alright, I wasn't there. There's probably a good reason for it that I'm aware of. As I was saying though, the old Tinker, like you slam a Tinker in lane, but too bad because his team's stuck in the Ancients a few times, and he's still going to get like a 9-minute boost of travel anyway, as he got all the fairly useful rune. Meepo getting the bounty rune off the top. So Doom pushing out the very early Midas, he'll be very happy with that. While we're seeing the phase boots null out from the Invoker. I don't think anyone's got a clear advantage right now. Yeah, there's nothing in it. This is a pretty dead eating game right now. You see a bit of aggression on the middle lane. Chilling Touch comes out, but the Tinker's able to turn it, underestimating the power of his nukes. Will there be a turnaround kill? There will. The Tinker will die, but the Sunstrike, unfortunately, will miss the Ogre Magi. He creeps way back to base. Good old-fashioned dumb luck. Well, we're seeing a bit of aggression up here on the top lane, and the Doom goes down, gets the final right click in. He's proving me wrong here. He's proving me wrong. He's gonna transition into a full carry Invoker just to spite me because I don't like Forge Spirit Invokers. So well played there. Really making good use of the phase boots. Phase boots, I'm a big fan of. Anyone who tells you that all heroes should only buy a single type of boot and tells you which boot it is, they're normally on drugs. All boots are situational. Phase boots on the Exhort Invoker are nice because they just give you that extra little bit of move speed that you sometimes lack when you have no levels in the Wex. And that's really good for aggression in a lane. So I like how this Invoker is playing the lane that he actually has rather than the lane that I thought he should have. So kudos to him for proving me wrong. He's also getting really close to that magical level where he's going to start popping out Forge Spirits like there's no tomorrow. The Doom, though, will be pretty content to weather the aggression, I think. I don't think he's going to make the same mistake that he just made in Ogre Mid. I think he's going to be content to sit on that Midas and devour his way into the game. The question of who's going to carry the mech for MDA, I think, is a simpler one, and I think the straightforward answer is that you give it to the Doom because he can get it so early. The slight twist to that is that Ogre Magi is actually quite a good mech carrier. He can be quite good. A lot of people underestimate his stat growth. He's actually got good intelligence growth as well. It's not amazing, it's not off the charts, but it's pretty good. So this game has been a lot more passive than I'd expect. We're going out, as we see aggression on the bottom lane. Now this is not the easiest of heroes to kill, but they've jumped him before level 6 and they've timed it quite well, and he'll go down easily to the Chilling Touch in the combo. Well timed, that's going to delay his 6. And that's an important thing for this lineup, because the longer they can delay the 6, the longer they can stall to bring this Tinker fully online and get him tasing people and that sort of thing. The worry that I have, though, is that the Invoker is not being well addressed, and he's getting significant farm, very significant amounts of farm. You know, I totally missed that other one before, but there's a few things going well here for BP. So the question is, how are they going to use these things that they're finding themselves with? Because they're getting relatively straightforward farm on their mid and top. The tri-lane's a bit more contested, and the Brew's having a rough time. But Brew's a pretty hard hero to keep down. As we see a clap, but Slug will just leap away. I hear a sunstrike. I have no idea where it landed. Nearly on the Slug, it looks like. So he slithers out from under. He's not level 6 though, which is unfortunate for him. He's in a similar position to the Brew before, where he was just level 6. That gank wouldn't have meant anything at all, because he just, well, in Brew's case, would have turned it around, but in Slug's case, he would have healed it all back up. So this is another interesting thing to talk about to do with the support Marana. So normally when you play a Marana, you're gonna normally put your value point into leap and into arrow, and then you're gonna max out your on. Oh, as he eats an arrow, rockets to come in, and a Fisher to finish him off. The Earthshaker securing the kill secured. So normally when you play a core Marana, you're looking for your levels in your Starfall, because it's the best burst damage out of the abilities. That changed a little bit with the Sacred Arrow bonus damage being thrown to the top, but you actually still get slightly better damage out of the Starstorm, and also it's AoE and you can use it for farming, etc, etc. It's a little bit different though when you're playing a support Marana, because you're so level starved, and you're also so starved for mana that you've got to make the most out of the efficiency of your mana, which is something you don't get good mana efficiency out of it. So we see the Doom coming out on the Invoker. He's trapped, he's cornered, and he's brought down. But while this is happening, Tinker's sneaking around on the back lines. He's zapping people. He tases one down. The Meepo manages to slip out from under. Well, he poofs out from under. And the Doom gets a turned around on with 3 up here, dodges the arrow, but he goes down as well. So a costly gank on the Invoker, and MDA overestimating what they could get away with there, with the claps on them coming through. So this Tinker is well and truly online right now, and this is where Tinkers start to get a little bit scary, where they can get away with the game just a little bit. 1 minute he's got a boost of travel, and then he's got a soul ring, and then he's got a 4-star and a blink dagger and a Dagon 5, and he's just tasering you, and you just can't touch him because he's blinking everywhere, and it's horrible. So the big weakness of the Tinker when you're playing those games is that he snaffles up farm from everyone else, and it's actually on both teams. He makes the whole map really hard to farm for both teams. As we see an arrow fly through and not really hit anyone. So when Tinker shunts lanes like he's doing right now down here, what he's really doing is stealing farm off his team. He's getting farm, don't get me wrong, but when you push the lane up so aggressively like that into the tower over and over again, you create a situation where no one can really safely farm it. And that can be okay for a Tinker, especially once the Tinker gets his 4-star and blink out, because he can very, very aggressively farm it. But there's a risk that you put all of your farm onto the Tinker, and then he doesn't succeed with it in quite the way that you want him to, because his scaling's a bit funny that way. He's hard countered by BKB, for example. Team's posturing. A lot of posturing going on here. 12-minute game, only 8 kills. We'll finally open the stats tab and we'll have a look at last hits and denies. So, yeah, it's a pretty good mix. It's interesting. It's an interesting mix. Yeah, not much to really talk about there actually. Not that won't give interesting things away. I don't think there's really much of anything going on here. This is the thing that really interested me. I don't know, has that become a common thing in the last 3 or 4 months? I've seen it done. I got absolutely anal raped by it once. It was really horrible. Forgive me for saying that. That's a terrible figure of speech, don't you? It was a really important match. I can't remember why it was an important match. And I was like, I'm going to take a Quap mid against this Tinker, and I'm going to shut him out of the game. And Quap is a decent hero to shut down a lot of weaker laners, and Tinker is a weaker laner. And this Tinker, he turned me on my head because he didn't put any levels in the farming abilities, and he just maxed his rocket and lasers. And every time I tried to trade effectively against him with a random ice blast, every time I tried to trade effectively against him with a shadow strike, it just didn't go the way I really wanted it to, and I'd just get lasered and rocketed in the face, and it was horrible. And this is really interesting stuff. That was I like where this is going. I like where this is going. Oh, right in the kisser. Right in the kisser. Those short-range arrows are the bread and butter of the rhinos. And he drops the meatball on him, and this Ogre Magi, he is not where he wants to be. He's stuck between a fisher and a tree. Where's the trade? The question is, can they convert this into a tower? Who can capitalise off that exchange better? Because at the end of the day, 2 kills are 2 kills. It's good to see. It's good to see more kills on the board, but at the end of the day, they're not the most critical thing. It looks right now as though we might just see a trade. Radiant pops the fortification. Tinker's only just gone back to base. We'll see where the timing works out for this. Normally, if you're going to defend a lane as Tinker, you want to be there like before it and drop in the marches before the stuff hits the tower. So we see the tower at bottom fall for Dire. And what do we see up here? We see the TVs onto the tower, very aggressive. Not in time to deny the tower. Doom out on the Tinker, but there's going to be no follow-up. The Doom has completed that, and that's good. So the Meepo goes down in exchange for a tower, so it ends up being 3 kills the difference over that. Yeah, so it was tower, and 3 kills. So definitely that passage of play favouring Pains. And what this also does, when you see towers being traded like that, what you're essentially doing there is you're increasing the amount of space on the map that you can push a creep wave, and that just inherently favours Tinker because he can just create so much space, and it's a pain to deal with. It was actually what I expected to see in the first game. I expected to see the Tinker and the Nature's Prophet just shunt waves onto the other side of the map incessantly. And what you can get into is a situation where the team that's playing against the Prophet or the Tinker, or the Naga Siren for that matter, any strong split pusher really, never sees the other side of the map unless they get some like monumental pick-off on the split pushing hero. Okay, so with those developments, what have we seen? Well, we haven't seen very much at all. So it's still really anyone's game. I don't want to talk about it too much, but I don't really like the amount of farm efficiency that we're seeing here. There's a lot of farm on the map for both teams that just isn't getting consumed. Like, this is just wasteful up here. Like, I know everyone's busy. Like, I know there's lots of things on the map to do. You know, there's wards to kill, there's towers to push, that sort of thing. But when there's nothing going on, like when you've got stuff like this, like posturing we've got going on here, people just standing around is what I'm basically saying. There is no excuse for not getting that free 400 GPM. I'm liking this. I'm liking this a lot. Sometimes you've got to make the hard decisions. But no, I like that. I like that. Is it a hard decision? It looked like a hard decision. It may not have been. It may end up being quite an easy decision. So, they're mustering the courage. They are mustering the courage. Doom comes in on the dude, the Pandaren Brewmaster. You see the big Echo Slam come out in the middle of there, and the Doom gets 2 out of that one, and that is impressive. I thought that was a big Echo Slam, but I'm looking at that right now, and it doesn't look very big anymore. So that is an excellent fight, MDA, baiting with the tower. They do pop their glyph, but the tower was, I think, denied by the Doom. Yep, denied by the Doom. And they pick up 2 kills off the backside of it. So very, very well played. Slide over extension there from BP costs them 3 heroes in the tower. And they're now forced to react to the Meepo bottom. And this is that split pushing that I was talking about before. To win a battle without ever fighting it. Okay, so a bit of posturing up in the top lane from MDA. Not able to push their advantage any further as the heroes respawn. And we'll see them drop back into a farming pattern, I think. Tinker, with his completed blink, blinks forward aggressively onto the support, but then has to be bailed out by the Moonlight Shadow. And is... Alright, so we had a warding going on. Right. So a bit of counter warding going on in the middle. Tinker gets bailed out by the Moonlight Shadow and cops an arrow to the face. Tinker blinks in to finish him off. And this is that. I hate this. It's the taser build. Zap, 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 zap. You just can't escape from it. Alright, so where does this Slark fit into this game? Well, he's got his Blink Dagger as well. So we're getting a pretty mobile lineup coming out here. Those Blink Daggers do really... I missed that completely. I missed that completely. So the... I have absolutely no idea what just happened. So Meepo was killed, he destroyed it. Okay, so Meepo traded himself for a tower. Okay, that's an alright trade. That's an alright trade. So Tinko getting ever closer to his Dagon. Dagon's good against a number of heroes on the Dire team. These blink daggers are the more interesting thing, as we see. Excellent initiation going out, and Slark doesn't even have the time to put his ulti. And the Shadow, the Sunstrike whiffs. Poor Ancient Apparition being chased by the pandas, eats the Earth Panda's hatred, his rock of hatred, while the Doom goes down on the Invoker, and he's traded for that. So far, 2 cores for a support, no, a core and a support for a 4, and then Meepo pawns another core. So a core and a support for 2 cores. And a deny, another deny coming out from MDA. So we can't overemphasize how important these denies are. The deny, and that team fight will get translated into a tower. So that's 2 denies now, and the towers are starting to thin off the map. Can't overemphasize the importance of those towers to a momentum-based lineup. And yeah, I don't know, is this a moment? Yeah, this is a momentum-based lineup. Any lineup with Brewmaster in it is going to be like somewhat momentum-based, because he just tapers off so hard. We're going to see, I think we're going to see the Vlad's AC build coming out from him. I like the Aura build on the Brewmaster. What I don't like, and I've hinted at this a few times, I'm not liking the fact that there's no mechanism, however you pronounce it. BP, no mechanism and no mechanism in sight. I don't like that. I think they could be taking these team fights if they had the mechanism. I don't think you would have seen those 2 heroes get picked up on the backside of the other mechanism instead of, say, some of the other items that we're seeing. But it's a weakness of their draft. I don't know if we'll see them compensate for it. Crimson Guard, another interesting item that now directly competes with Mech for that utility slot early game. But hey, no one seems to be super duper keen on the whole thing. And this random concept of buying a mech, like, who ever heard of a team buying mechs? Not useful for team fights or anything. This Miko, he just has a talent for finding the root of skill. Okay, so I'm going to make an unkind statement right now. There is a lot of nothing going on in this match. There's a lot of... No, sorry, I got a few giggles out of that. No, but I'm quite serious. So there's a lot of purposeless posturing is how I would put it. So, I don't know, keep coming back to this stuff. Keep coming back to it. That's like 400 gold. No one's going to stop you from doing it. Yeah, some more to make the most out of your time. Doom comes out on the Broodmaster. The Slark uses a blink dagger, blinks in. They eat the deafening blast, but the ice blast will clean him up. And a good Fisher comes out, and they're trying to bail him out with the Moonlight Shadow. Is he going to walk onto another observer? What he will, he gets... No, that was bold. That was very, very cocky, and he's going to fucking get away with it. Now, I really... Lovely arrow on the Meepo. Will it matter? That Meepo's very low. Oh, he goes down! And that Tinker with his balls of steel. Balls of steel, tasering rockets. He's been on no health for most of this fight, and that is a bold and aggressive play. BP salvaging what was a very, very bad situation to start off with. The primary initiator just gets taken out of the fight right at the start. Panda goes down, and then Tinker makes something out of nothing, keeps himself alive with no health. You know, he was baiting there. He was tempting fate, throwing out lasers and rockets while invisible breaking Moonlight Shadow. And it worked out for them. It ended up a 4-for-1, 4-for-2 trade. That is good stuff. Just throwing out the Sunstrike. Brewmaster with his blink and with his Vlads. They're on top of the Slark. Slark wants to juke. He can't, and he gets tasered down by BP. BP playing this Tinker very similarly to in the first game, but it's working for them. It's working for them this time. That is a big ice blast that whiffs completely. Dodges it with the Panda ult, and that is 2 turnaround kills on some very important heroes, or a turnaround kill and a pick-off. On the other hand though, the split was used defensively, and that means that it's not going to be available for the killing of this tower or any fight that's going to be in defence of this tower. This is definitely an opportunity that could be seized, but it's a hard team to fight into. Is he going to do this? He's going to do this just to spite me, isn't he? It's going to be a neck. He's doing that to piss me off. Righto, so what are we going to see out of this opportunity? Are we going to see anything? We're not. We're not. Who made the call? A fascinating question. Oh, He thought about it. He definitely thought about it. That would have been the Eternal Envy play, the sacrifice buildings to then get a kill, the legendary rack spade. It's impressive stuff. But no, it didn't happen. They didn't end up going on it. I wonder what they were waiting for. As we see a pause. I wonder what they were waiting for in that fight. You're not going to get a much better opportunity than that to make a fight. You know the Tinker's just teleported somewhere and he's burnt arseloads of mana on pushing a creep wave into your tier 2. That's interesting. Yeah, so you know you're pretty much getting a 4v4, I think, and you also know that you're not going to have to deal with the brew ult, and you're also not going to have to waste a doom to not have to worry about that as we deeply consider our domestic lives. Yeah, so I don't know what they were waiting for. Maybe it was just that the wrong hero was the one who would have been leading in, so they didn't really want to make the play out. And this is interesting. Oh no! You're doing so well. Man, that is some hate. That is some serious hate. And, you know, they did well to get out of the way of that ice blast. He survives! That was pretty close. That was about, 130 HP? Would have shuttered. Anyway, so both teams have invested pretty heavily into, and this is disgusting. That makes me sad. Both teams have got a few blink daggers online, 4-star. There's good mobility from both teams. Both teams definitely have pick-off potential. It's just the pick-offs are actually coming from BP. I don't know if it's just that, that the other team, MVP. I'm going to look this one up. MDA, that's it. If it's just that they feel that they can't do anything about it, so they're kind of psychologically in a corner right now. Because definitely I think they've had opportunities where they could have made something happen. And they've just balked at the last minute. So we could be seeing a team going on to tilt here. Okay, so what's the game plan from here? What are we really looking for? So we're getting some decent item progression here. That's pretty good for a 5 position. We're pretty much where we expect to be with this hero. Would really like to see him pick up a mech. Is someone going to pick up a damn mech? We're not going to see a mech from the Ogre Magi because he's going for a 4-star. We're going to see it from the Meepo. We're not going to see it from the Meepo. It's just like people hate mechs today. Except for this person who's only buying it to piss me off. Item progression continues for the Invoker. And can we make a play? Can we make it happen? Yeah, so just items continuing to be churned out. Now, there's a question. Is that an AC or a Sheevas? I would like to see a Sheevas out of that one. And yeah, so nothing earth-shattering coming out from anyone here. This person's been a quiet achiever, by the way, in terms of just steadily accruing farm. I don't think he's at the point yet where he's going to run away with the game. And I said this earlier today. I don't like this build. I particularly don't like this variation of the build. This is the one-hit wonder build. I can't do anything for 60 seconds every 2 minutes build. But hey, I guess if you're going to do it, you're going to do it. I personally prefer the Rat DOTA to the Max Invoker build. If you're going to go the Forge Spirit build, you might as well buy a Necro Book 2 and just never go near towers, but kill towers. This is a game of chicken right now. This team is just the posturing. So what I'm liking right now a lot from BP is, I know I whinged about it a lot before about the inefficient farm rotations. Well, they're getting there. And the impressive thing about the way that they're getting there is that they're soaking unsafe farm as well as the safe farm, and they've got the lanes under control. So pretty much, with the lanes where they are right now, it's pretty difficult for MDA to make something happen without it being pretty obvious what they're doing. And at the moment they just lack the confidence to make a play outside of their own bases. Meepo eats an arrow, but do you really want to push into Meepo? Well, it looks like you do. I'm going to call that a whiff. It was okay. It wasn't what they wanted though. He'll pay with his life for it. The Meepo does go down. Meatball follows through, and that's going to be the end of the slug. Ancient Apparition goes down next, not before he gets off the Ice Blast, Doom sent up in the air, and that is well played. That was a good arrow out of that. And we'll see the Doom go down off this as well, and this is going to be, will we, can they get the block off? They don't even need the block, they're just going to right click him down, and that is a team down. So what precipitated that team down? I'm calling it. I really think that was a whiffed. That was a whiffed Echo Slam actually. It hit 3 heroes, but what he wanted to hit was like the centre of the Meepo, the massive Meepos, and Meepo did well to get out of the way of that. It was a little bit cumbersome. I don't really know what went so wrong there. It's not this, all right? Like people always go to this. Like, that's like 2 items. That's like 3 items tops. That doesn't win you a 1v5 team fight, or a team fight, 5-1 odds. Oh, we're seeing a bit of aggression coming out from the Meepo here. He's making something happen. They make those blink daggers pay off. Is that how they come back into this game? As we see a Sunstrike with an arrow and a meatball, and the poor Meepo, he gets out of there. The stick saves him. He's going to try and heal back up. He was pretty lucky there. I'm not going to lie. He was pretty lucky. Did I say Meepo and that's Slark? The Slark was pretty damn lucky there. Lucky twice, I don't think people don't give enough credit to the magic wand. Like good players do. Good players are all about their magic wands because they make shit happen. And oh, this is looking bad. How bad is it? It's pretty bad. Surely he's going to die. I would have never played Dota again if he survived. I've seen too many Tinkers get away from situations far worse than that. Alright, so we see a couple of pickups. So is this the way back into the game for MDA? I don't think they want to clash fight right now. And that's because they don't have a mech. God damn it, why don't they have a mech? So they can't clash fight, they can't take a team fight. That got shown to us before, and it was that. That's what it is. That's the difference. That's a team fight. Oh, and the bluff has been called. They're certainly aware of it now. The Sunstrike goes down, and are you really doing this? Oh, that is a big. That is a big multicast, the skill cast. The Invoker, he goes down, finally. I love watching Invokers die. But the Doomsblow as well throws out a War Stomp, and he's going to try and make like a tree and leave. As Meepo picks up another one, he took the Aegis of the Immortal, baited the Earthshaker in, killed him. He had a Meepo on like no health, he teleported it out and then teleported back in. That hero is just so versatile and frustrating. And Doom kills off the Brewmaster on the back photo play. The Doom finally ticks over, and that is what Ags does. Ladies and gents, reset that timer over and over again. It's not ticking down. How does that make you feel? Pretty bad. Pretty bad, says the Panda, as he waits to respawn. So, a series of excellent pickoffs, and we see MDA start to claw their way back into the game. They got 1 pickoff, they got 2 pickoffs, they baited a good fight in the Roshan pit on advantageous terms, and let's not mince our words, there was a skill cast in the middle of things there that in fact resulted in the Invoker dying before he got a single spell off in that fight. I think it was a clean kill. He might have gotten like a tornado off or something. So the old skill cast played a role, but all in all, still an excellent passage of play for MDA, showing that they might have been down, but they're definitely not out, and they can definitely take fights when they do it the right way on their terms. Yeah, already saying, I'm not, yeah, he used it over here. Sorry, I should explicitly comment on that. I'm sure everyone's noticed by now. He's got his EV. So he's tasering people, he's zapping, he's tasering, it's horrible. He's actually had it for 2 fights now. Won't somebody please do something about the Tinker? Oh, ring around the rosy. Sometimes it's just painful. You see things everywhere. Ah, they find it. They found it. And they don't even bother. Look at that. That is, real men don't look at explosions. They just walk away. Too cool to kill the ward up there. But that's how he rolls, because he's a melee support. He can't into hitting things uphill. So again, the game stagnates. On the upside, the tempo definitely picked up there in the early mid for a while, and we've now jumped to a little bit more than 1 kill a minute, which is where we want to be. We want to be at the action end of the range. It's ironic that I dislike Tinker, and in the same sentence say that I like lots of things being killed, because that's kind of what he does. zaps people over and over again. So the old shift queuing, we're nearly at the day on 5, and that's exciting. It's so exciting for the tinker and for no one else in the game. And we've got the farm train. This is what I like to call the farm train. When the game reaches the point where it's so risky that you're like, if we get picked off, that's the end of it. And then suddenly you find yourself with everyone else on your team farming in the same place. And that's when your GPM starts to dip off a little bit. But you know, sometimes it's a necessary evil. Sometimes it's the way that you have to go. And that's a good pickup. I like seeing that. It's a pretty one-dimensional hero. I got to tell you, like Ancient Apparition, in the current way he's played, is incredibly one-dimensional. It always goes this way. And that's because it works, you know. Don't fuck with it. Don't fix what isn't broken. And I'm glad to see that was a Sheeters. That makes me pretty happy. 4 stuff coming out from over Magi. So the item progression is there, and Slark gobbles up that arrow, but the aggression is, you know, this is baller. And on the backside comes the Tinker, but he's going to pay with his life, and that is a trade. That is a trade that they will happily take. The downside of it is that there's no doom for the Panda. Panda's going to get off his ult. Big Echo Slam on the Meepos, full combo through, but he's got the Aegis, he doesn't care. Doom's up in the air. Ogre on the backside of the play gets cleaned up by a rock, and Invoker's right clicking away back there. AA goes down, and the Invoker goes down. Everyone give a cheer. The Panda starts to get killed off. Mirana plinking away, only just uses her mech now. Remember how I was saying she's not a good mech carrier? She doesn't want to be standing in the middle of a fight. As she gets demolished, and that is why you don't stand in the middle of the fight as a Mirana, and that's why, sorry to say it, it's not a very good item. Oh, Doom! Doom pays for his arrogance, and there's now only one hero left alive on the map. Well, it's 5 heroes, 5 clones. And he's going to gobble up some farm. So that was a very destructive team fight. Why, Doom? Why? Why did you? That was greed. Greed incarnate. Greed kills. Greed kills. So Meepo used this opportunity to shunt the lanes a little bit, and this is a welcome opportunity to put the lanes back on the radiant side of the map. After spending oh so very long getting pushed around by the Tinker, they can finally put the lanes in a position where they can make some plays happen and act with a little bit of privacy, because it won't be really obvious if they're doing something because they're not farming at their tier 3s. On that topic, this graph can be very misleading sometimes. So we see where it's headed at the moment. The reason it's misleading is because towers are a static. You can only earn the gold off a tower once, right? So these things here, they're sacks of gold. There was once a time in Dota where a deny on a tower you'd get nothing for it. If the other team denied the tower, you wouldn't even get like half gold. That was just it. What people did is the whole early game was structured around trying to find ways to allow yourself to deny towers. It was really stupid. It was changed so that firstly, the whole team gets some gold, and secondly, even if it's denied, you get half gold. What that means though is that all of these, they're just liabilities. They're just sacks of gold. So none of these 3 towers are going to give gold ever again. These 3 towers are probably, balance of probability, is going to give gold at some stage in the game. Tower's worth about 2,000 gold, and where do we see the gold graph? That's about 6,000 there. So that's gold waiting to happen if they can ever prize map control back with the Tinker and get on the side of the map, and he goes down. I missed that completely because I was rambling about gold. But the Tinker cops an Ice Blast in the face, and it's an Ags, and that's a desperation move from the Mirana, or she genuinely doesn't understand the simple mechanics of abilities like that. And he finally goes down. Now, the question that I have is, what does it mean for you when the Tinker goes down? Because the obvious answer is that it's easier to push, and you can start to get the creeps back on your side of the tower. And that is well read by the Mirana. Throws out the scouting arrow, gets it landed. Big Echo Slam, big meatball follow-up, great combo. 2, 3, 4 go down. That was only 3, the meatball already on there. Pretty big. It was pretty big. A few cooldowns got used though. Just a couple. So that was all set up off the scouting arrow from the Mirana. And something that you see, like it happens like at least once every, I don't know, week on Join Dota. Someone will suggest that you should be able to check people's like arrow accuracy on Mirana or their hook accuracy on Pudge. And that if they have too low an accuracy, they shouldn't be able to play the hero or some other such dribble. So that scouting arrow is a perfect example of why that's done. Because 9 times out of 10, that arrow is not going to hit anyone because there's actually no one standing there. The one time that it does hit someone, it sets up 4 kills in a team fight though, which justifies you throwing it the other 9 times when it's going to miss because there's no one there. And that's why people enjoying DOTA are mouth-breathing idiots. I'm just trying to make sure that I never have a career as an actual DOTA caster. So, we've had a punctuated equilibrium, bits of action now and again, and they're worried, maybe they're just scouting. You know, we haven't really talked about this, and we can't talk about it. You know, that's painful. We can't talk about how long this is going to take, but that's not the important thing. As we see the Invoker running around, he's starting to level his Wex, and this is where you start to get into the perma-haste Invoker thing. Another thing I don't like about Invoker. I just sulk. I just don't like anything. Some men just want to watch the world burn. I'm clearly one of them. See, there we go. Look at this. Look at that. Look at that. What the hell? Ice Rock, please fix this. Is that another arrow? That's another arrow. Mako, you're so sad. Another combo comes out. The Meepo's going to go down, but the Doom comes back out on the Tinker. But the Tinker's going to... Oh, no, he won't, because a Blink Dagger Slark comes in off him, and that is one dead Tinker in a minute. And the ES goes down as well, and we're about to see the Panda run out of his ult. And they're gonna take, no, I thought they were gonna get him, but then he threw down his bullshit ice ball. And everyone suddenly had AIDS and they couldn't walk. And there's people pouncing over magic immune units, blinking out of the way. Oh, it is crazy here in the middle lane with people surviving who just shouldn't survive. Mainly the Invoker. Quick fingers though. Look, credit where credit's due. He invoked it, he threw it out, he was throwing abilities all over the place. He threw out his wall of AIDS right here and just no one could walk through it. Everyone got a bowler. Does that still affect magic immune units? I think it does. It definitely used to affect magic immune units. And I'm gonna look over here, dutifully look over here. It used to affect magic immune units, which was just so frustrating. Like other heroes have to have their ults to work on magic immune units, not Invoker, because he's a pretty cool dude. What haircut does this Invoker have? He's got some horrible mask. Ugh. Yeah, I don't like it. So, I gotta tell you, the sexy hair of Carl, I think it's called, is probably the best cosmetic in the game. Except for, and we'll go back to it, that. See that big ass wooden sword? That is hands down the best cosmetic in the game. Pow right in the kisser. That is actually one of Meepo's lines, by the way. Pow right in the kisser. As we see an actual fight happening while I talk about Meepo's lines. Meepo picks up the Aegis the Immortal, in the end uncontested, great posturing, great positioning by MDA to push them off. And the Doom dies when I'm just like not looking. Probably because there's a Tinker in the game who's just making life miserable for everyone. Particularly the Doom right now. And that is something that probably needs to be addressed, but it's a total waste of your time addressing it. And you know, this is one of those things with the this is what makes the split pushing Tinker so dangerous. Yeah, he can push lanes right, but it's what's about to happen right. It didn't happen, that's okay. He cancelled the TP. So it's the fact that you can't just send a support to defend the lane right, because if you send a support to defend the lane, he's going to get fucking tasered to death. And we go one more item, we get to the Hex, and suddenly you can't send any single hero. You can't even send a core to defend the lane unless he's got a Lincoln Spear. And even then, it's pretty iffy. Like, it's pretty iffy. Like, let's not mince our words here. Late game Tinker is a scary thing to have to face on your own, because you're not hitting him because he's got this. He's hitting you because you're permanently hexed. And he's tasering you, and it hurts a lot. And why the choke? The choke. So what we saw right there was a choke. Because illusions don't dispel smoke. So if you're standing next to a hero sometime and you're smoked still, and they're not on your team, you shouldn't hit it because it will just dispel your smoke, because it's an illusion. So a slight misplay, excellent use of an illusion, not debating, love it, it's good stuff. All these illusions just coming from everywhere. Why would Ogre buy a Manta style like this? Wink, wink. Another lull into that. Yeah, take that. Take that, potato. He probably did it to Tomato as well. Like, Tinker just hates everything. Especially things in the jungle. He kills them mercilessly. And this is the other thing that Tinker does to you. Suddenly you find yourself doing this. Why are we standing here? Well, I don't know, the game's scary. But then the other team as well, they're also like, well, if I'm not Tinker, I could get picked off. So right now, it's pretty fucking scary for both teams. So scary that they're just going to take a time out, they're going to do some deep breathing, they're going to work on their relaxation, reduce their anxiety levels, and maybe leave their fucking towers. Except for Tinker. Tinker cares for no man. I don't know how to feel about this. So while we wait for this to go ahead, let's do some actual analysis instead of just complaining about how much I hate some Broom Invoker and Meepo and Marana.
And DOTA. And Mech.
And Dave. No, I love Mech. I think Mech's great. Mech's just terrible on Marana. Don't do it, kids. Don't do drugs. This utility Marana is out of control. So much utility coming out of this Marana. All utility, all day. And yet, you know what this Marana needs to maximise her utility? After she finishes this, and this is one item, I'm not going to say what it is, but like we all know what it is, I don't know if I've seen it yet. After she finishes that, she needs a 4-star, and then she needs a blink dagger, and then she's reached maximum utility. And then we're cooking with fire. Gas? Fire? I don't know, what's the saying? So this is anyone's game right now. This is quite an entertaining game to watch, except for the occasional fits of well, look, there's brief periods of great excitement. It's a bit like Chinese DOTA, followed by long periods of seemingly inane stuff that people who are into it get really into it. And they're like, oh, did you see how they rotated from one side of the map to the other and didn't find anyone? And it's like, yeah, man, Chinese DOTA is so tactical. Oh, I wish I was half as tactical as Chinese DOTA players. Yeah, the item progression's there. The item progression's there. You know we haven't seen on... Oh, there's one. Yeah, I've already commented on that. There's one BKB. That actually hurts. That physically hurts me in my fields. Because BKBs save lives. They win games. If workplace health and safety was a thing in DOTA, everyone would have to buy BKB first. And games would never end, because no one would be able to do anything. It's going to happen someday. When the WHS Act is applied to DOTA, your first item will have to be a BKB, because that's the safest item. And then your second item will have to be probably a Vanguard, I reckon. Definitely a Vanguard, because a Vanguard is also useless, and WHS is mostly pretty tedious. Then what? Maybe oh bang! Take that power right in the kisser. And also, by the way, he's got the living crap tased out of your Ogre Magula. But the Tinker goes down anyway. Does he have buyback? Is he coming back into the fight? All these questions, we don't really know. We'll never know. There's a Meepo up in the air. That's pretty futile. You just disabled 1/5 of a hero. Stomps going out, buybacks everywhere, Tinker on the backside, cleans up the Ancient Apparition, cleans up the Doom, refreshes, the Meepo's in, balls deep, he gets him before he goes down, and that's the key thing. The Tinker dies back, the Meepo buys back, and he's back in the fight, and will this be a dieback or a buyback? All these important questions as we have the Ghost Walker Bay trying to slow everyone down, but it's not enough, and the Brewmaster dies. And it looks like it's going to be all in vain as the Invoker goes down too, because he dared show his face. So that is a decisive exchange. That was 2 diebacks, and the Marana goes down as well. So that's a 5 for 3 exchange with a, I think it was 3. Let's check that buyback status. Yeah. So that's a pretty grim picture. That's a pretty grim picture. So the only buyback coming off the dire was the Meepo. No, the Meepo slider buyback. Look, I'm crap. I thought he was dead. I could have sworn. He had ages. If only someone told me there was an item that does that, I might have known this thing. So the caster finally catches up to the game as we see T3 getting absolutely wailed on, and this could be it because there's 30 seconds without two of the cores. In fact, 30 seconds definitely without two of the cores, and we're not going to see. You're not going to buy that. So pretty much that's racks. Don't think it'll be two. I just don't think they can kill it quickly enough, and they're a little bit spread out for my liking. But they'll be happy with that. They'll be very happy with that. That's 2,000 racks, 3,000 racks off the back of that team fight. And I liked the bold and decisive buyback from the Tinker. I was always kind of expecting it to come, but when it came, it was spectacular, and he got two spectacular kills on the Ancient Apparition and the Tomb, but then he just found himself standing in the middle of about 10 Meepos and a Slark, and it very, very rapidly went south from there. He did take the Meepo with him as well, but the Meepo still had his buyback, and he didn't have his buyback, so it was a really bad trade. And that, boys and girls, is the story of how Radiant lost their middle racks. And it was something. It was a good play. Right, so Tinker's job just got a little bit harder because now there is a lane that is going to actively resist his attempts to push it all the time on the other side of the map. It's also going to incentivise the behaviour we were seeing before, where people hide because the game is scary. No, you laugh, but so this is the thing that you never see, because no one's looking at that, right? When you play Dota, you're not looking at the reason why people hide is so they don't get seen, right? Casters don't normally see them as well, because they're looking at the action that's going on, and then bam, out of nowhere comes an Earthshaker, and he echo slams everyone, and they go, how does he get into the positions for these things? I just don't know. It's a legit thing. The Earthshaker that you never see, the Abaddon that you never see, the support hero that you never see. Nova, the carry player for the original Fnatic team in Hon, before they transitioned to Darwin and changed rosters and stuff, he was considered the best support player in Hon. And to be perfectly honest, he would have been one of the best support players in Dota if he played Dota at the time, as evidenced by the fact that he briefly played Dota when Fnatic transitioned. And he wasn't too bad. He was second string, but he was very good. People used to comment when playing against him that they literally never saw him in the games that they played. They saw abilities that he cast sometimes, but in games that Fnatic won, they just never saw him. It's like Nova was there. You know he's there because he's leaving wards all over the place. And you see him cast a Fisher every now and again, but you really want to kill Nova, but you just can't find him. You just want to feed off the support hero. That's how it goes. And you know why it is? It's because he's doing things like that. Bang, another support hero play that we could easily have missed, but we didn't. We didn't this time. Because we were alert to the sneaky support players. The sneaky support players. Look at this, look. These two could move in together. They think alike. It is a beautiful thing. And I'm really liking this positioning. That is deliberate and conservative positioning. From both teams, actually. So this is a very slow push. You hear about the slow push, you don't hear about the really slow push. This is a really slow push. Committing onto the tower now, finally. This guy is the goat on the tether because he's not sure he's not going to. I must be perfectly frank, I'm not very clear on what, if any, thought went into that. But that just happened. In fact, I might have done something on the chat wheel for that. You have a different chat wheel button to me. Well, what button is it? Is it Y? Yeah, no, there's no chat wheel. I'm hitting Y right now. It gives me network. Really? That's disappointing. How else can I spam well played when someone stuffs up? Alright, so the very slow push has moved from here to here, and the next step will be for it to stay here for a while. And they can do that actually, they can get away with it. Because of this. This is probably the funniest thing ever. Probably the silliest thing in DOTA. No, that's not true. That's not true. Because it's pretty much just doing exactly what Tinker can do anyway. So, we now have two heroes who can teleport everywhere all the time. With essentially no cooldown. This is exciting stuff, folks. I'm coming through here. How do I uncommand you? What is this thing? This thing was Earthshaker. You were seen, you should have been hidden. Right, Earthshaker goes down. I hear poofs. I hear so many poofs. I see a Tinker dead and that makes me pretty happy. It's a big combo on the Meepo, but he's got this thing. He's got this thing where he takes less magic damage than everyone else. But he still takes magic damage from that. That is a lot of damage and the stop finally finishes off. But the Tinker died back for it again. Again, the Tinker trades with the Meepo, and again the Meepo was able to buy back again because the Tinker had to buy back to even get the trade. Meepo is back in the fight because he's got the no cooldown boost of travel, and this is going to be a second set of racks. Finally the Invoker goes down. MDA fights their way back into the game off a series of excellent kickoffs and very well constructed team fights where they got exactly what they wanted. Desperation buybacks coming out from BB, but at this stage they're going to be fighting 3-on-5 without their highest network hero, and that is not a nice proposition, and this is not a nice place for an Invoker to be standing as the Meepo stops playing his hero. Fascinating. The GGs come out, and the first game goes to MDA. I was going to make very certain that I got the name right there. They were on the ropes for a little bit. It was a significant but not insurmountable goal lead, and they demonstrated how you can come back into games. Consistent, steady, good play plays you back into games. And they still don't have a mech. They've done this just to annoy me. Or they just don't believe in mechs. Anyway, have a good night, folks. We'll be back for game 2 in just a little while.